Hello, hello, hello. I'm still going to call you sister friends because I'm used to calling everybody sister friends. Hello, sister friends. Because I know many of you are sister friends from my Senior Perspective channel on Sister Wives. But not everybody might be, because somebody might just be interested in hearing about the book Revenge from Tom Bauer, right? Yeah, Tom Bauer. I am. It's quite the book. And I wasn't going to start right away because I just got the book yesterday. But there's like 40 some chapters. I'm like, oh my. So I'm like, well, that's 2 years worth of time. So we will double up on chapters, jump in right now. In fact, today we'll probably read the preface and chapters 1 and 2. And then we'll see how it goes. These Wednesday nights aren't going to be as long as my normal ones are. I just want to read you the book. I just want it to be story time. So let this be your story time, everybody, where we come together and we have a hot toddy, some comfortable PJs, and just listen. And let's get revealed and get some education and information on Meghan and Harry. What do you think? It's good to see so many people here. Lynn says, hi, Janita, but not Janita anymore. I am now Princess Jenny. Yes, I am Princess Jenny. Janita was the Baldwins. Princess Jenny is Revenge. I might move up to Queen by the end of the book. We'll see. All right. Read and talk as long as you want. Hello, Wendy's Front Yard. Let me say hi to everybody here. Mountaineer 301. Corley, hello. Good to see you. Story time. Stole that from James, but it's a literal story time. His are stories too, but like this is book story time. Okay. Who else is here? Shanna Banana is here. Hello, good to see you. It's been 2 months since we've done a live on this channel. Well, it's time then. It's time. Which means it's been 2 months since I've posted anything on this channel because I haven't done. Is Welcome to Plathville back? It might be because I hear people talking about it kind of in the background. So I think that might be back on. But I don't know if I can do it. I think I'm diving into this instead. I feel like that show is getting near the end, but I might be wrong. Okay. Let's see. Basically, they show who is the chattiest, basically, because I just kind of glance at it randomly, and it's like whoever pops up is who I end up talking to. Joni C is here. Hi, Joni. All right. Don't rush. No, are you driving? No speeding. Hi, Carol. Good to see you. I'm glad you're looking forward to this. You were the first one in the house today. All right. The Duchess of Book Club. I love that. Yeah, the Duchess of Book Club. Excellent. Love it. All right. Ashley's here. Hi, Ashley. Woohoo. Something to listen to while you do your laundry. Absolutely. I didn't marry a prince, so I'm stuck doing it. I love it. Me too. I meant to do some today, but I didn't. Tomorrow. It's on tomorrow's schedule. All right. And let's see. Meghan will never be recognized as a princess by the majority of the people in the UK. This is true. And quite frankly, the titles were stripped from them. They shouldn't have the title anymore, so she shouldn't be using it. July 22nd. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's why I'm starting to see some chatter about it. Oh, well, maybe we should watch Welcome to Plathville. Isaac broke Micah's nose at Lydia's wedding and ruined his modeling career. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's very funny, Mountaineer. Can't wait to hear all about Mr. and Mrs. Unremarkable. Very good, very good, very good. All right. Goodness. All right. Here we go. I will say, One of the reasons I ended up getting the book is because of some of the interviews I saw with the author, and I thought it seems like he does his due diligence. He cites in the back here about, oh my gosh, acknowledgments. Okay, acknowledgments are not just, these are literally all footnotes, all throughout all these, throughout all of here, all footnotes from who we talk to or whatnot. And then at the very back, there is an index too. But he's citing his resources, which I like. Oh, there's some photos in here too. We'll get to those another day and read through them. Oh, it's exciting. Okay. Oh, my screen just went kind of funny, but it looks okay now. We are having storms that keep coming and going today, so hopefully I don't lose internet or power. All right. But we'll start with the preface just because I don't really know. Oh, that's what I was going to. There it went again. Oh, my mouse. I moved my mouse. These are not the best glasses. I was going to get different glasses anyway. All right. We'll do the best we can. I might be moving back and forth. So they're cute, but the lenses just aren't as sharp. So things are a little bit blurrier, which isn't the end of the world, but probably not ideal for reading. Okay. All right. If my son were to ever move out, don't let your son move out, Shanna Banana. That's just what I say. Don't let him move out. The name of the book is Revenge. It is called Revenge, and it's by Tom Bauer. All right, let's get started. Here we go. Preface. She had arrived. Gosh, you know what? I didn't have to worry about any big words when I read the Sister Wives book. So grant me some grace. I know this guy's an author. I know this is going to be loaded with words and terminology I can't pronounce. Oh, goodness. I didn't think about that until just now. Plus, probably location. So if anyone's watching this from the UK, my apologies, because I won't know any of these cities or castles or whatever, and I might slaughter the names of those as well. So I apologize up front. I see Mama Squirrel joined us. Hi, Mama Squirrel. Good to see you. Okay. Preface. She had arrived. I'm trying to think of the best way to hold this so I'm not looking sideways. There we go. She was in the spotlight. The excited crowd cheered, and some screamed. Dozens of lenses zoomed in, and shutters clicked. Dignitaries bowed, and some fawned. Helicopters buzzed overhead. Bodyguards hovered. Police were everywhere. Unexpectedly, Meghan mania had exploded. Finally, Meghan Markle was idolized. It's an interesting sentence. Her lifelong ambition was being fulfilled. This might be a snarky book. Okay. On a frosty morning on the 1st of December, 2017, the television star glowed. Just as her new fiancé promised, she had inherited the iconic mantle of his mother, Princess Diana. From the moment she stepped out of the gleaming black Range Rover at 12:05 a.m., the British showed their love for the 36-year-old American actress. Nottingham is a city 130 miles north of London, famous for its associations with the Robin Hood legend. I didn't know that. It was an unusual choice of location to introduce Meghan Markle as the royal family's latest member. The East Midlands city could not rival California's sun-kissed beaches, but that was a temporary irrelevance for the citizen from Los Angeles during her slow 400-yard walk through the lace market toward the Civic Center. It's warmer over there, she laughingly agreed with Corey Burns, one of the 1,000 people who had waited for 2 hours. From her pocket, Meghan thrust a hand warmer to an Australian student who had complained of the cold. Nearby, Harry's smile was irrepressible. Irrepressible. Already there's page 2. There's a word I've never heard before. Irrepressible. Okay, I like it. Okay. Meghan's hand frequently rubbed his back and squeezed his elbow. Her constant smile and animated greetings were examples of Hollywood at its best. A brief kiss by the couple sparked hysteria. Theirs, agreed the onlookers, was a match made in heaven. Flowers, cards, a teddy bear, chocolates, 2 fridge magnets, and a bag of local memorabilia were thrust at the visitors. They were thrust at the visitors? Meghan, come over. And I just put my arms around her, swooned an 81-year-old Irene Hardman, a royal superfan. It's so lovely to meet you, Hardman told the future Duchess. I'm sure you are going to have a lovely life with him. Look after him for us. Oh, by the way, I will spare you not using a British accent because I can't. I'm sure if I do, people are going to be like, you're going in and out of British, Australian, New Zealand, and Scottish. All right. You are so sweet, replied Meghan, unaware that her hugs and poses for selfies were banned by royal etiquette. I cried afterwards, admitted Hardman. She's wonderful. They're so genuine. It's a funny preface. She seems like a lovely, lovely person, C.N. Roberts gushed to NBC News cameras. I think she's going to be a really good thing for the royal family. Close by, an ABC News reporter was babbling about pop star frenzy. Unsurprisingly, many Americans were fascinated by the new association with the crown. Even Rosh Hashanah Nurza, a student from Kazakhstan, was mesmerized. She had set her alarm clock for 6 a.m. to get a prime spot. It's such an honor to see the royals, she told BBC TV. I'm also a fan of Suits. So it's a chance to see a star of that, too. We need, quote, we need magic at the moment, end quote, an admirer shouted at a journalist as the confident American and Harry greeted the acting lady mayoress. Oh, wait, there's more. They greeted the acting lady mayoress Belle Edis. No idea what that is. I'm sure you could be the people's princess, said the 70-year-old civic leader. Ooh, that's what they always called Diana. So I'm sure that's what she wanted to be called. Harry, Edith noticed, chuckled and smiled with his cheeky grin. I'd said the right thing. Congratulations, shouted a group of women. 4 days earlier, the couple had announced their engagement. Breaking tradition, the Queen had agreed Meghan should be fast-tracked into, quote, the firm. This is the country that's going to be her home now, said the Princess spokesman, Jason Knopf, or probably Knopf. That means traveling around, getting to know the towns and cities. The visit to Nottingham was the beginning of a 6-month tour of Britain. What a dream. Great way to see the country. Britain's tabloid journalists noted Meghan's trendy clothes. A Canadian navy blue cashmere coat. A cashmere coat? How much does a cashmere coat cost? She was a struggling actress. What are you talking about? Okay. An Australian black turtleneck, a British beige chinko skirt, and boots. and a Scottish tote bag. Just how you would imagine a modern princess to look. Swooned a fashion aficionado. Hours after the list of her outfits were published, their manufacturers reported a sellout of stocks. Isn't that funny? That's what she's trying to do now by posting every time she goes out. She's now posting it on her social media with links to purchase it so she gets a kickback because she's upset. She was mad that other people were benefiting. Yet she's the one who said, look at me, I'm not reading the book here, am I? But I remember her saying, I like to wear designers, unknown designers, small little fashion designers to get their name out so people will support them. Now all of a sudden she's changed her tune and she literally was upset that people were making money off of her back because she was wearing their clothes. I'm like, what? That's kind of a selfish thing to say. Meanwhile, before she said that, she had previously been posting on her Instagram pictures of all of Catherine's kids' outfits and links to buy all that stuff where she got a kickback from it. Oh, here we go. I got a piece of probably cat hair in my eye. Okay, I hope it goes away soon. Okay. Back to the book. I'm going to have a black smudge. Look like a black eye by the time I'm done. Okay. Okay. Hours after the list of her outfits was published, the manufacturers reported a sellout of stocks. That news pleased Jessica Mulrooney, Meghan's Canadian stylist and friend, and a creative director of a London designer said Meghan's personal style has an effortless ease that personifies her character. Inevitably, commentators compared Meghan with the Duchess of Cambridge. Kate came off unfavorably. Oh, I don't remember that. They were saying that Meghan looked better than Kate, huh? Okay. During that day, all the boxes were ticked. Visits to the HIV Center, an institute giving health information to local Africans, a group providing advice on nutrition, and Nottingham Contemporary, a center for life, love, and health. The itinerary foreshadowed the routine life Meghan could expect as a member of the royal family. AIDS sufferers, Meghan was reminded, were a particular target of Diana's charity work. Following in Diana's footsteps was particularly important for both Harry and Meghan. After nightfall, the couple were back in Kensington Palace, sleeping in Harry's home. Oh, okay, wait. Wasn't there a policy that you had to be a virgin to marry, or is that just to be the queen? Which I don't know that Catherine and, well, it didn't matter if the king was, but if anyone is in England, let me know if they got rid of that rule, because I remember that was a big factor with Lady Diana, that she was a virgin at the time, and that was required for the crown to marry the prince. Well, Meghan had been married before, so she clearly wasn't a virgin, but like to literally right after they got engaged, just go, okay, and now I'm living in his home, just seems like very modern for the crown. Okay. Harry's home was appropriately called Nottingham Cottage. Meghan voiced no regrets or foreboding about her new life. On the contrary, she was thrilled. For years, her destiny had been to be distinct from the crowd. Repeatedly frustrated after leaving college, she was never deterred by failure. Now her tenacity had been rewarded. Her lucky break had miraculously materialized. Marrying an English prince was an unexpected prize for someone seeking the American dream. To rise from obscurity to respectable prosperity. An essential ingredient of her trajectory had been that her story should be told on her terms. Controlling the narrative was essential to her success. As Oscar Wilde wrote, "The truth is rarely pure and never simple." End quote. Brilliant. The royal family would soon discover that Meghan Markle's expectations and ambitions might be rather different from what they and the enthusiastic British public were anticipating. During those first blissful weeks, only hardened cynics asked whether it might even be possible that the 1,000-year monarchy could be jeopardized by this unknown American actress. Okay, that's the preface. I do have to agree that when she first came on the scene, I was excited. I was thrilled. I thought it was great for the monarchy to have somebody that was biracial in it. I thought it was great for the monarchy to have somebody from America marry into it, just kind of like connecting the two countries together. And I knew nothing about, I never heard her name before, I never saw her face before. So like, I know she thinks she's really famous, but I think I had heard of the show called Suits, maybe in passing. Now it's fuzzy. I can't say. I certainly never saw like a preview for it or coming soon or anything like that, because I had no idea what it was about. And I didn't watch it. So she was like a D-list actress in America. You know, one of many that are like the 10th person down in line on a show. I don't know if she was ever done. I never saw the show, never watched an episode. Okay. But I do find it interesting. It's so funny how things change over time, right? Yes, I do. Somebody mentioned Yacht Girl. I saw a picture of her recently. See, when she got engaged, all of a sudden, a lot of her history had been wiped from the internet. Like they did, that's probably what they did for those 4 days. It took 4 days. Just kidding. After she got engaged, before she started her tour, they had scrubbed everything from her past. So she was kind of starting fresh. But now, just like people are talking now, photos are starting to surface now of her past and different people she was with. And it does appear that she was on more than one yacht, being the yacht girl who, you know, who's the most famous for that? It would be from Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio is really famous for just having a yacht full of yacht girls, just pretty girls. If you live in LA and you know somebody who knows somebody who has a yacht and you have a really hot body and you're really pretty and you're single, then you can be a yacht girl because they don't want to go on a yacht by themselves. They want to be surrounded by all these pretty girls and probably have a choice of which one they want to hook up with as well. I do believe oftentimes, maybe not always, but oftentimes the yacht girls are ready to get down and do the dirty. I'm sure there's some innocent ones there too. I'm sure a lot of them want to marry whoever owns the yacht. I mean, there's a brand that goes along with the yacht girl. So it's not a positive term, but it's certainly going around now. Hello, Nadine. Good to see you. I think I saw somebody else here. Carol, I think I said hi to you already. Knit My Bit's here. Hi, Knit My Bit. Let's see. Well, that's a good point. Ever since he did his Nazi costume for Halloween, I couldn't believe that. It was when I saw that, first of all, I just thought, how was he able to leave whichever palace he's in? Like, how did anyone approve of that going out? There has to be somebody. He has keepers, he has security, he has people around him all the time. But nobody spoke up and said, not a good choice? That is extremely offensive. Can't think of many worse costumes. Pick something else. Like what? And what motivated him to do it? It's so bizarre. It was so bizarre. And I remember thinking at that time, wow, these kids are really sheltered, because you have to be literally clueless to wear that. And I think he was clueless. Still think he's clueless. Okay. We're gonna start on chapter 1 now. Let's see if there's anyone I missed here. Knit My Bit's more of a 4-wheeler gal. Live an Eclectic Life is here. Good to see you. All right. Here we go. Chapter 1 is called Thomas. It was love at first sight. Oh, it was love at first sight. Okay, quote, it was love at first sight, end quote. Thomas Markle said after Meghan Markle, his youngest daughter, was born on the 4th of August, 1981. It's so funny to see how dates are flipped around. At the West Park Hospital in Canoga Park, Los Angeles. The 37-year-old father proudly held the newborn baby, who he repeatedly called Flower. Doria Markle, his 24-year-old wife, was sleeping comatose after her anesthetic for the cesarean birth. Once Doria awoke to discover she had a daughter, she pronounced her name should be Rachel. Sometimes I think the grammar is going to seem off to me because this is a British way of speaking that I'm not familiar with. She pronounced her name should be Rachel. If you say it like that, it doesn't sound odd at all. Thomas preferred Meghan. As a compromise, she was called Rachel Meghan. Within days, Rachel was forgotten. In Celtic Irish, Meghan means brave warrior. In Welsh, it means pearl. During Meghan's first week, all right, so wait, Rachel. Okay. During Meghan's first weeks, her father redecorated the family bathroom in their comfortable 3-story house in Woodland Hills with angels and fairies. Quote, the look on his face was priceless, end quote, recalled Tom Jr., his son, from a previous marriage. Watching Thomas hold Meghan, Tom Jr. could see his father was smitten. Quote, my dad was more in love with her than anyone else in the world, and that included Doria. She became his whole life, his little princess, end quote. While Thomas endlessly photographed his daughter, he agreed with Doria that baby Meghan should get everything she wanted. Even as a baby, any signs of her displeasure should be instantly placated by gifts. Ooh. Worshipped, their daughter would be endlessly reassured that she was special. Her parents' unconditional love inevitably shaped Meghan's character and her personality. Thomas and Doria had met in 1977 at the ABC Film Studios in Los Angeles. 33 years old, Thomas had just been nominated for an Emmy as a lighting director of the daytime TV soap General Hospital. Unsurprisingly, he spotted Doria, a slim, beautiful, black 21-year-old trainee makeup artist with a nose stud. After a few weeks, Doria moved into Thomas's untidy family home. Quote, I'm not the neatest of men, end quote, Thomas admitted. Among papers, memorabilia, and furniture, he was bringing up 2 adolescent children from a previous marriage. Tom Jr., and Samantha. Doria found the setup challenging. Nevertheless, the atmosphere was good. Tom Jr. recalled how the Markles celebrated Thanksgiving with Doria's grandfather, mother, and half-brother. It was really warm and inclusive, Tom Jr. recalled. The kind of family I had always wanted. Their decision to marry on 23rd December 1979 was unusual. At the time, fewer than one white American man in 1,000 was married to a black woman. Quote, "When I married Doria," recalled Thomas, "people asked, 'What color will your baby be?' I said, 'I don't know. I don't care.'" On reflection, Thomas became aware that in mixed race marriages, their children's color becomes an issue of self-identity for the parents, and the issue is discussed before birth. I just recently heard Chris Rock. He was like in a TikTok, wasn't TikTok, whatever, YouTube short. And Chris Rock was saying, this is very interesting because you see how Meghan Markle just pilfers phrases, clothing, appearances, like she is emulating always someone or something. And she's oftentimes wearing a attire that looks just like Catherine the week after Catherine wore it, or she'll wear something that that Princess Diana wore after, at a certain event, and then she would wear something very similar to it. There's just a lot of monkey see, monkey do with Meghan. So I find it very interesting that he said that, "What color will your baby be?" So she would have known that story. It would have come up at some point when they were talking about race when she was a teenager or whatever. And he was like, I'm sure she even asked, "Were you at all concerned?" And he's like, "No, somebody once said," so she's heard that story before. And then she adopted it as her own. It's very interesting because that's the exact same thing she said that somebody in the palace said about her child. But then Chris Rock's comedy thing, as I started saying before, he goes, "Hey, Markle, so there's somebody in the palace wanted to know what color, what shade, I don't remember how he phrased it, but what will the baby look like?" And he goes, "That's not racist." He goes, "Even black people all want to know what color, what shade is our baby going to look like?" He goes, "It's a conversation everybody has." I found it funny. Anyway, moving on. Thomas promised Doria kindness and stability, especially after she did not qualify as a makeup artist. All was set for Thomas to start a new life. "I like to think," Meghan wrote in 1990 at age 8, "he was drawn to her sweet eyes and her afro, plus their shared love of antiques." That's what Meghan was hoping that he was drawn to? Appearance and a hobby? Nothing about the content of his character. Okay. Showing the depth of Meghan right up front. Okay. From the outset, however, the prospects of a long, happy union were uncertain. 12 years younger than Thomas, Doria lived in her own world, immersed in the teaching of a Hindu yoga guru and mystical religions. She insisted on being married by a Buddhist priest. Brother, I don't know, I can't pronounce his last name, in the Self-Realism Fellowship Temple, a replica Indian temple on Sunset Boulevard. Thomas happily went along with his wife's choice. "I love Doria, I apologize. It got blurry on me." Thomas said, "I didn't think how long it would last. I gave it a go because I wanted a child. This was the first child that I could afford. I didn't have enough money for the other two." That's interesting because he was the caregiver for the other two. I mean, I could see that he didn't have enough money early on in that, but I mean, now he just won an Emmy for lighting. Boy, this is history repeating itself, isn't it? Somebody who doesn't have as much sees somebody higher up to obtain that level of fame and wealth, marry into it. Even if you have nothing in common. Okay. To make life easier, Thomas rented a big house and a quiet cul-de-sac in Woodland Hills. Wealthy area, by the way. A white middle-class residential area lined with eucalyptus trees near the Bell Canyon Parkland. Well, maybe it was considered middle class back then. Maybe it's still considered middle class, but those are still multi-million-dollar homes. Okay. Photographs taken soon after Meghan's birth recorded a happy family. Sitting at a table of food cooked by Doria, Thomas held Meghan surrounded by Tom Jr. and Samantha. Their happiness, however, was short-lived. Once Thomas resumed working his 18-hour shifts, cracks in his relationship with Doria appeared. Meghan's parents were clearly incompatible. Before arriving at the ABC studios, Doria had helped her father sell a bric-a-brac, and then she moved around California trying to be a travel agent, an importer, and then finally a clothing designer, before finding a permanent job. Thomas says she was employed by a boyfriend to prune marijuana plants in Humboldt County. After stripping the leaves and stems, her boyfriend supplied customers across Los Angeles. This is very illegal back in the day, just to say. As Thomas ruefully recalled, everyone in Hollywood at that time, including himself, was smoking and taking drugs, not just at home, but also in restaurants and even at the Academy Awards. In Thomas's absence at work, Tom Jr. smoked cannabis with his friends in the house. Doria also regularly smoked cannabis with women friends, and sometimes Jeffrey, a friend from her high school days. That was random. Okay. Doria sympathized with Tom Jr.'s particular problem. As part of California's immigration policy, he was bused without choice 1 hour across Los Angeles to an all-black school. Regularly, the ginger-haired boy was beaten up by the other pupils. For 1 year, Doria urged the local education authority to accept that he experienced sufficient diversity at home. Essentially, his anguish was ended, but the damage to his education was beyond repair. Sad story. There was no similar report between Doria and Samantha. Doria had begun to sell jewelry. Her new company, like my sister wife's closet. Her new company, Three Cherubs, irked Samantha. The three represents Doria, Thomas, and Meghan. Oh, yeah, that hurts. Okay. Why isn't it 5 cherubs? Samantha asked. Increasingly jealous of Meghan and already frustrated about the difficulties of becoming an actress, Samantha, now 13, told Thomas that Doria's housekeeping was unsatisfactory. Doria was, according to Samantha, ordering her stepdaughter to clean the house. Samantha's resentment grew as Doria increasingly partied in the family room with girlfriends or drove back to Humboldt County to smoke marijuana. All these have numbers. This is all cited, just so you know. Like after every sentence, there's another number that you can go to the back to see where this information came from. Doria changed after we married, admitted Thomas Markle. I didn't realize she would still smoke so much weed. Even when Samantha returned home in the afternoon with school friends, she'd find Doria sitting in a dressing gown on the front lawn, smoking a joint. Doria, Thomas, and Samantha Markle agree. Doria Thomas and Samantha Markle agreed, was neither gentle nor loving. Thomas also discovered that Doria found caring for Meghan alone in the house to be difficult. And there was more. Samantha recalls seeing photographs of Doria with women taken by Thomas on the walls of their home. Thomas was also aware that Doria was sleeping with other men. Hold on. Did that first sentence imply that she was also sleeping with women? Samantha recalls seeing photographs of Doria with women taken by Thomas on the walls of their home. Thomas was also aware that Doria was sleeping with other men. You're being used by Doria, Samantha told her father. The angry teenager moved out of the house. Oh my. Okay, we're gonna get a full background story on Meghan's parents here. At first, Thomas refused to intervene. Then he too became angered by Doria's lifestyle. We just were on different paths, he recalled, without rancor. I was also married to my work, he admitted. In Thomas's version, Doria's fondness for marijuana, her sex life, and her antagonism toward Samantha, who had just been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, ended the marriage. The amicable settlement negotiated by one lawyer split Thomas's limited savings. The couple also agreed that in exchange for no alimony, Thomas would always support Meghan. The absence of any rancor was inspired by Thomas's delight to have a young daughter. Until then, his domestic life had been troubled. All right, so she was willing to give up her daughter in the divorce. Born in 1944 in Newport, Pennsylvania, his parents, Gordon and Doris, could trace their American roots back to the Great Migration from England in 1632. One branch of the Markle family went back to the reign of King Edward III, who died in 1377. I mean, if I trace my heritage back, I'm probably in some line of something too in the 1300s. Just saying. Okay. Other forefathers arrived in the 18th century from Germany and Holland to work as farmers, miners, and craftsmen. Before the Second World War, Thomas's father, Gordon, had owned a petrol station. Gas station, we would say here in America. And then worked in a shoe factory. After military service in Hawaii during the war, he became a printer at an Air Force base in Harrisburg. At the end of the daily 52-mile round-trip commute to work from Newport, he returned home miserable. After dinner with his 3 sons, Thomas was the third child after Mick and Fred. Gordon went to his room to read pornographic magazines. Okay. A lot of details in this book. Despite her sullen husband, Doris Markle encouraged her 3 sons to enjoy the best of New England's outdoor life, fishing in the river, picking food in the fields and woods. She was also determined that her sons would have a good education. Mick joined the Foreign Service, and Fred the church as a priest. Thomas, however, was a risk taker. Tall, thin, and known as the cool cat, he chased local girls. Oh, isn't that interesting? I wonder if this book has a picture of him from back then. I don't picture him ever being tall, thin, and a cool cat. Every Sunday was the last in the line of altar boys at the Episcopalian church. He waited for the priest to pour the last drops of wine into his mouth. Regularly, he staggered out of the building. He was unsuited for college after leaving school. Starting at a stagehand in the local theater, Thomas chose lighting as his specialty. Moving to Chicago, he worked as a junior technician in a TV station and in a theater. In the midst of his hectic teenage social life, he met unemployed Rosalind Lovelace at a party. Within days, Rosalind was pregnant and Thomas, quote, did the right thing. They married in 1964. Both were 19 years old. Born the same year, their baby daughter, Yvonne, who would later rename herself Samantha, was the elder sister of Tom Jr., who was born in 1966. Samantha would years later describe her mother as promiscuous. So Tom married two promiscuous women, right? His first wife and his second. Thomas Markle worked and played hard. Well, there you go. Priorities. At the end of a long day, it was 2 pages stuffed together. Okay. On the set, he preferred to party around the clock rather than return home. Oh, great. Great guy. Okay. Family time was limited to taking his children to a baseball match at weekends or to the TV studio while he worked. They were always arguing. Samantha recalled about her parents' quote, they were always arguing. Samantha recalled about her parents' fractured marriage. Thomas moved out, divorced, and headed for Hollywood. After scraping a living in the restaurant kitchens, he finally made a breakthrough. Living in Santa Monica and earning a good income from lighting at ABC, Thomas heard that his 2 children were struggling. Rosalind was partying with a series of men and her hippie friends in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, she went from Chicago to New Mexico. Their mother, right? Wasn't it Chicago they were in? I think. Their mother, the children complained, was not spending the money he sent for them. To escape their mother, Samantha moved to live with Thomas in Santa Monica and was followed by Tom Jr. Their, quote, safe haven was unstable. Sometimes working 18 hours a day, Thomas Markle struggled to give his children a better home. Neither child complained, although Tom Jr. spent some of his days smoking cannabis, while Samantha occasionally, dressed as a goth, disappeared into nightclubs before arriving in the morning at the local high school. My word. Thomas did his best. I mean, I guess if you say so. Inspired by her regular visits with her father to the Sunset Gower Studios, or Gower, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, Samantha wanted to become a Hollywood actor. Thomas arranged a walk-on part in a TV drama, but Samantha's ambitions remained unfulfilled. In 1977, Thomas's turbulent background was mirrored by Doria's unstable family. Divorced, remarried, and then repeatedly abandoned by their partners, Doria's mother and grandmothers had brought up their children single-handedly. Both their family backgrounds were unexceptional. Doria's great-great-grandfather was an enslaved person of William Ragland in Jonesboro, Georgia. The emancipation from 6 generations of slavery, Meghan would later claim, okay, so is it true or not? He named himself Wisdom. The evidence, however, suggests that he remained Ragland. After emancipation, the Raglands worked as hired hands around the original farmstead, and only at the beginning of the 20th century did their children head for nearby towns to find work as a hall porter, a waiter, and a presser in a cleaning shop. In 1954, Evelyn Ragland, who would become Doria's father, met Jeanette Johnson in Cleveland. Oh, I live by Cleveland, kind of. Jeanette Johnson had been abandoned by her husband with 2 children. To survive, she worked as a hotel lift operator. In 1956, Evelyn and Jeanette married, and Doria was born. Soon afterwards, the family, including Jeanette's 7-year-old son, Joseph Johnson, packed their belongings and drove to Los Angeles. Doria's half-brother, Joseph, would recall the nighttime arrival in a small town in Texas. Cold and hungry, they were told there were no rooms for Black people. The highway is that way. Get going. You're not welcome here. It's so hard to believe that time existed, isn't it? It's sad. Once settled in Los Angeles, Joseph and Doria went to the predominantly white Jewish Fairfax High School. I worked at a Jewish school that was on Fairfax Boulevard, so it was called Fairfax too. Anyway, Alvin set up a succession of antique shops, including 'Twas New, and became known for a fast life, driving flash cars and chasing women. Including 'Twas New. Like we're supposed to know what 'Twas New was? They make it sound like you're supposed to know what that is. Okay, anyway, moving on. Doria's dissatisfaction of her life with Thomas Markle coincided with Elvin, her father, abandoning Jeanette for a teacher called Ava Burrows. They later married. Quote, "Life's hard," Doria said, agreeing with Jeanette, her mother. There's a lot of dates and names in this chapter, so if you're having a hard time following, it's okay. Kind of going to the backstory of Doria here. In 1983, after their separation, Doria took her 2-year-old daughter to live with her mother. At the same time, Thomas moved into a large converted barn in Vista Del Mar Avenue, a stylish neighborhood close to Hollywood Boulevard. He also rented a small flat opposite the ABC studios. Man had money. Later accounts that Thomas was, quote, plagued by money troubles from the time Meghan was a small child, and this had contributed to the breakup with Doria, were untrue. Okay, I got to read that again. Let's see. Thomas moved to a large flat. He also rented a place across from ABC Studios. Later accounts that Thomas was, quote, plagued by money troubles from the time that Meghan was a small child, and that had contributed to the breakup with Doria, end quote, were untrue. Okay. Sorry, lots of quotes in here. That makes it hard for an audiobook. I don't think it'll be, well, we'll see. The whole book will be that way. Shortly after her parents' separation, Meghan was enrolled by Thomas in the Little Red Schoolhouse, a favored creche, Creche, with an accent over the first E, among Hollywood's film set. Another word I don't know. Okay. Located near the ABC studios and Doria's new home, Meghan's parents adopted a fixed routine. On the days when Thomas was working an 18-hour shift, Doria and Jeanette cared for Meghan. On the alternate days when Thomas was in meetings to plan for future filming, he collected Meghan from school. He looked after her every weekend. Moving between her parents and their different ways of life, Meghan radiated happiness. With light olive freckled skin and curly hair, she was not identified by anyone as belonging to any particular race or culture. Racism did not appear to be a problem, especially at school. Although there were few Black people in the Hollywood Hills, Thomas Markle insists that race was never mentioned in his conversations with Meghan. Doria mentioned one incident when someone in Woodland Hills had mistakenly assumed that she was Meghan's nanny. Quote, I didn't see any racism in that area, end quote, insisted Thomas Markle. Quote, Doria never complained that it was difficult as a Black person to live there, end quote. Writing for the first time about her background in 2015, Meghan did not suggest that her mixed-race parentage, or biracial, as she would write, complicated her life. She praised, all right, so Meghan did not suggest that her mixed-race parentage, or biracial, as she would write, complicated her life. I don't like sentences like that. Okay. She praised her father for making her feel accepted. I have been fawning over a box set of Barbie dolls, she later wrote. It was called the Hart Family and included a mom doll, a dad doll, and 2 children. This perfect nuclear family was only sold in sets of white dolls or black dolls. On Christmas morning, swathed in glitter-flecked wrapping paper, there I found my Hart family, a black mom doll and a white dad doll, and a child in each color. My dad had taken the sets apart and customized my family. That's sweet. Thomas's recollection is different. I gave her the dolls at the 4th birthday party in a park with her school friends. Doria and her mother were also there, he continued. One mother said, I've never seen a set like that in the store. Until Meghan publicized the gift 30 years later to illustrate her, quote, problems with race, Thomas Markle could not recall Meghan ever mentioning the issue. In 1986, Doria found caring for her 5-year-old daughter too difficult. Increasingly, Meghan either went after school to the home of Ninaki, quote, Nikki, Pretty, Meghan's first and best school friend, or she was collected by Thomas and sat at the TV studio where he worked. I did hear from people who worked, actors that were in Married with Children, the sitcom, that she was often there. Okay. Encouraged by Nikki Pretty's parents, the deep relationship between the 2 girls gave Nikki a unique insight into her friend. Quote, she always wanted to be famous. She just loved to be the center of attention. End quote. Growing up on film sets, noticed Pretty, made Meghan a bit of a star. We used to imagine her receiving an Oscar. She used to practice announcing herself. I knew she was going into show business. Real easy. End quote. Real easy. I wonder what that means. Anyway, how old was she when this quote was probably when she grew up, right? Anyway, that's its own sentence. Real easy. Okay, last paragraph of chapter 1. Samantha's absence from home confirmed Meghan's impression that she was an only child. Nikki Pretty witnessed the consequence. Quote, she was tough too. If you rubbed her up the wrong way, she'd make it known with the silent treatment. There was a time when we were about 7 and I'd collected a bunch of insects. She didn't want to play with them. We spent 2 hours sitting at opposite ends of the garden with our backs to each other in silence. I'd always be the first to apologize. That's what you have to do with a narcissist. I just wanted to be besties again. She was stubborn. She digs her heels in the ground. End quote. Okay. Nikki Pretty, her bestie. Talking about how Meghan can hold a grudge for 2 hours and give you the silent treatment for 2 hours, maybe longer. But Nikki couldn't take it anymore, and she apologized. Oh, boy. We would like to send Henry and Rachel back. Is Maureen, are you in the UK? Maybe England? Wasn't it kind of like how Fergie and Diana were before the toe-sucking incident? I forgot about the toe-sucking incident. Wow. That's a blast from the past. That's a grandparent I want around my kid. I know. Talk about dysfunctional, right? Dysfunctional with a capital D. Oh. There must be a lot of truth in it because H&M have not threatened to sue Tom Bauer. And they're suing everything else. So there's no attempt. They had all kinds of lawsuits going. Okay. Who raised her then, Tom or Dory? It appears that Tom always did. He was alone without any kids with the first marriage when he had Tom Jr. and Samantha. He left and went to California, and that wife, I think it said they were living in Chicago initially. She ended up moving down to New Mexico, and the kids were very sad and upset and said that they weren't getting any of the money he was sending and things were bad. So he took them. And then he had the kids ever since then. And then when he married Doria, they were married for a few years. And then she just didn't want to be married or a mom anymore. So she gave up her rights to Meghan and she divorced him. So, and that was the agreement then. He would give her no alimony, but she didn't have to do anything with Meghan. So her dad was the one who did, which is why after the divorce, she ended up going to the set a lot. Okay. You guys are all calling them. It's hard enough for me to follow all these names, and the fact you're giving them that you're going by the names they don't like it's going to be hard for me to do that too. But I appreciate you doing it. Maureen says, Diana was still is very loved by us. Fergie's toe-sucking embarrassed the royal family. Shamed herself, really, as her two children were present, but nothing like Meghan. Yeah, that was a different time, right? That was the biggest scandalous thing ever. Okay. Wait, who was watching porn? It was someone's dad. Was it? It was Thomas's dad. Thomas's dad. Oh, did he leave the country? Went to the Philippines? That's probably smart. Just get away. Yep, never met the invisible grandchildren. Thomas had a type. He did. I mean, he was asking for trouble. Joni, geez, my parents are really boring compared to this. So are mine. Wah, wah, wah. No one's writing a book about my life, I'll tell you that. I feel like I'm listening to the so-and-so begat, so-and-so who begat. Yeah, this really sounds like Genesis, the book of Genesis, which I guess the book of Genesis, the beginning of the Bible, kind of laying out the lineage of everything. They're doing the same thing here, kind of laying the groundwork for who everybody was. But I don't think we'll ever even mention Doria's parents ever again or Thomas's parents ever again. So there's 4 names in there that we don't even have to pay attention to. And some of the names of these friends from the past will probably, I don't think she stayed friends with any of them. So we'll probably, a lot of this we don't have to remember. All right. The Sister Wives book made more sense. Yeah. I'm so glad Jenny's reading this. I wouldn't have the patience. This was written in proper English, so us Americans don't understand. Yeah, I will say, there's been quite a few sentences that are clearly written in a British way, if you will. Syntax, word order. Poor Jenny. Oh, thank you. Our late queen knew what she was really like early on, but thought she would settle into royal because Harry loved her so much. Yeah, William asked Harry not to. Yes, I remember that. Didn't that cause the beginning of the whole friction between the boys? Is William saying, don't rush into this? Like, I'm concerned. And Harry took offense, probably because Meghan told him to take offense. Because she was like, well, we have to do this quickly because we have to fake these pregnancies. Allegedly. The Queen was such an incredible woman and so wise. Yeah. Queen was loved by everyone. I don't know anyone that didn't like the Queen. Harry was awful to the Queen and Prince Philip. Yeah. May they both rest in peace. Put flour sprinkles on my food, said no one, ever. Does sound also like a Cody Brown idea, doesn't it? And people will buy them just because of who I am. I is famous. All right. We're stuck with them here in the country. Oh, yeah, look at Lynn. Okay, but you all get to keep Ellen and her wife and Rosie. No, Rosie's still talking on social media, though. But Ellen we haven't heard from her. Yes. They end in Ireland? Or was it Scott? I think it was Ireland, yeah. William said that Rachel is rude. I mean, yes. Did Diana like her? I always heard they hated each other. Is that the Queen? Are you referring to the Queen? Did Diana like the Queen? I wonder. Okay. We're going to do our final chapter now. I think I'm going to split up these videos and I'll post them all as separate segments. So if people want to just go to a certain chapter, because we're reading multiple chapters in one sitting, but I'll create a separate thumbnail that has the preface, chapter 1, chapter 2. So maybe at the very end of this, we'll do a hi, welcome back. We're doing chapter 2. Well, I could do that right now for chapter 2. Let's do that. Hello and welcome. We are going to start chapter 2 of Revenge by Tom Bauer and discuss. Because discussing is important to keep it legit. Okay. This one is called School. Okay. Yes, the Queen. I don't know. That is a question for our resident. I didn't see at the very beginning. Was it Maureen? Michelle? Maureen? It was Maureen. Yes. Maureen. Maureen, let us know if Diana liked the Queen. I do feel that the Queen has really softened over the years because the Queen is very much by the book and following rules and keeping protocol, yada, 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 yada. And then she kind of just had to throw in the towel when it came to Charles and Diana and said, all right, what can I do? You guys are you're making a mess of everything. The stories are outrageous. You're both just being irresponsible. So fine, you don't love each other. You can get divorced. Although I want to know when Diana stopped loving Charles, or if she stopped loving Charles, because I know she was in love with Charles at first. He just wasn't with her. He treated her like a sister wife. Okay, chapter 2. I'm sorry, I was reading the chat for those of you who are just joining us because I realized this is going to be the beginning of a new thumbnail. It's going to be a new video. I was reading from the chat. Okay. Chapter 2, School. Just before her 9th birthday in 1990, Meghan's life changed. Doria announced that she had started Distant Treasures, a clothing and jewelry business. Oh my goodness. Before her 9th birthday, she was starting a clothing and jewelry business. Right, she was. She would need to travel to markets across the country. I'm sorry. Somewhat puzzled, Thomas never quite understood why Doria would be away for 3 weeks, but he didn't complain and he agreed to take full responsibility of their daughter. Oh, Doria announced that she started Distant Treasures. I'm sorry. I was thinking this was Meghan the whole time. Okay. Doria started Distant Treasures, this clothing and jewelry thing. Apparently, she had to travel all around the country to do it. He couldn't understand why. She'd be gone for a month at a time, but he was like, all right, whatever. And he'd take care of Meghan. Meghan moved permanently into the large converted barn. At age 9, he had her in a separate building on your property. The assertion that she lived, quote, in a cramped converted garage apartment, end quote, is inaccurate. At school, Meghan was known as empathetic for siding with those who were bullied or mistreated, although she would later reveal, quote, I was such a ham as a child, end quote. That year, she sat with her Uncle Joseph while his mother Jeanette was dying. Joseph noticed how his niece held her grandmother's hand with genuine kindness. The parents of Meghan's school friends were critical to her happiness and stability. For the first 4 days of the school week, Meghan usually went back to the homes of Nanaki Pretty, or Nikki. Why don't they just put Nikki in there? That's what they called her. Anyway, or Susan Ardakani, another friend, until her father collected her. Okay, so Nikki and Susan are the 2 friends' houses she would go to after school until her father got her on Monday through Thursdays. In both homes, she witnessed a happy family life. On Fridays, her treat was to watch Thomas Markle on the set of ABC Studios' General Hospital, or Married to Children. Introduced into the world of television stars, she loved the glamour. More importantly, she loved the camera. Posing for fun in front of the lens, she became a different person, conscious of the focus of that glistening glass upon herself. She dreamt, like many young girls in Tinseltown, of her future as a Hollywood star. Her father encouraged his daughter's dreams. There's the problem. Don't encourage her. Quickly, she became popular among the actors and crew, making sandwiches and getting autographs of the stars. No one would turn her down, laughed Thomas Markle about his daughter's popularity. Exposed to the adult world in the studio, Meghan became aware of politics and, in particular, American feminism. By then, the 20-year campaign, fronted by Barry Frieden, Andrea Dworkin, Jane Fonda, and Gloria Steinem, had matured into an irreversible movement with deep roots in Hollywood. In the mid-90s, TV adverts stereotyped women. The American corporation Procter & Gamble And the tagline to promote Ivory Clear dishwashing liquid, quote, "Women all over America are fighting greasy pots and pans," end quote. Meghan was infuriated. Why women? Why not men? Thomas Markle knew that thousands of American women were similarly annoyed. Many had sent protests to Procter & Gamble. With her father's encouragement, Meghan joined the bandwagon. She wrote to Procter & Gamble's chairman and also to Hillary Clinton, the First Lady. Like other protesters, she urged that the slogan should be changed to "People all over America." After she received no reply, Thomas wrote follow-up letters demanding that the corporation and Clinton acknowledge his daughter. Oh my. Nothing happened. Using his contacts, wow, this is such a different story from how she presents it. Using his contacts, Thomas arranged for Linda Ellerby, a host on Nickelodeon, a children's TV channel run by Lucky Duck Productions, to report Meghan's protest at her school. Seeing herself interviewed on the broadcast TV film report, accompanied by a reenactment clip of her writing to Clinton, naturally boosted Meghan's self-confidence. Some weeks later, Procter & Gamble bowed to the thousands of protests and changed the advertisement's strapline. Strapline. I didn't know it was called that. Although Thomas knew that Meghan's letter had not influenced the executive's decision, there was no evidence that her letter was even read. He encouraged her conviction that the change was her personal victory. Retelling the story to women at the NBC studios won her popularity. They allowed her to use an office for homework. The experience would be employed by Meghan as a milestone. That is so different from the story. She literally tells it as if she single-handedly. In fact, she may have even used the word single-handedly. She strongly implied it if she didn't say that. Interesting. The end of 1990 was a good time for the Markles. Through hard work, Thomas was flush with money. 26 years later, to extract a payment from an eager journalist, Tom Jr. invented the story that his father had won $750,000 in the California state lottery. There was no lottery win, but Thomas did give Tom Jr. money to start a flower shop and bought Samantha a car. Meghan's school fees were easily affordable for him. At Nikki Pretty's 9th birthday party, Meghan was videoing sitting on a red blanket, wearing a gold crown, and shouting with an improvised clapperboard, "Take two!" directing the other girls to bow and intone to her, "Your Royal Highness." She had been influenced after watching a tape of Princess Diana's fairy tale wedding. Nikki Pretty noticed her friend's desire to be watched. Quote, "Meghan always wanted to be the center of attention. She took the starring role," end quote. However, compared to the family life of her friends, Meghan found the tension between her parents challenging. Over the many weekends and holidays that they did spend together in their preteens and later, Pretty admired Meghan's management of her parents in trying to keep the peace. Quote, "For almost as long as I'd known Meghan, her parents weren't together. It could be hard for her. Sometimes she felt she had to pick sides. She was always trying to make sure each of them was happy." End quote. Pretty watched Meghan poised as a natural mediator and relaying messages like, quote, "It was literally stuff like, 'Tell your mother this,' or 'Tell your father this.' Controlling her emotions is something she learned back then." Learned. So British. Learned. Okay, I didn't really understand what they were trying to say there, but it's Sometimes when he's quoting people, like, I don't know if they don't have the best grammar or what, because these are Americans. I don't know. So I guess she was just, is this just a way of saying that Meghan was controlling of her friend? This pretty girl? What's her first name? Something pretty. By telling her, tell your mother this or tell your father that. Okay. I don't know. It seems like that could be the point. But then the tagline is just controlling her emotions is something she learned back then. I don't know what that has to do with controlling your emotions. Very confusing. This is very Sister Wives like. Something's tickling my nose again. All right. Although Meghan maintained her parents' divorce caused fewer problems than expected, Nikki recalls that sometimes one parent needed a little more attention. So Meghan would devote herself to that parent. Shuttled between starkly different worlds, she increasingly came to rely on herself. But, quote, Bean, as Thomas now called her, because she loved the book Jack and the Beanstalk, could always count on his protection. Okay. She could always count on Thomas's protection. Okay. Thomas's protective shield automatically went up after riots broke out in parts of Los Angeles, April 1992. Film had been released showing 4 white policemen beating Rodney King, an unarmed black motorist, after the police officers were acquitted by a jury of assault. What? After the police officers were acquitted by a jury of assault, parts of the city erupted in protest against the blatant racism of the verdict. Okay, I don't really understand that sentence, but that must be something British. Police sirens wailed as outraged Americans torched and looted their neighborhoods. Although the outbreak of violence were far from their home, Thomas decided to protect Meghan. During the afternoon that the riot started, he drove her to Palm Springs. It's a nice place to get away. Doria had refused to join them. I feel quite safe, she had told Thomas in the telephone conversation. There are serious doubts that Meghan saw any violence, not even the minor looting in a store near the ABC studio. In her absence, the riots spread to Sunset and Hollywood boulevards. After 5 days, the curfew was lifted and they returned to Los Angeles. Meghan drove past burned-out buildings, though no houses near her home were damaged. More than 20 years later, Meghan recalled a different experience. Quote, I remember the curfew, and I remember rushing back home, and on the drive home, seeing ash fall from the sky and smelling the smoke and seeing it billow out of buildings and seeing people run out of buildings carrying bags and looting. She also saw, quote, men in the back of a van just holding guns and rifles, end quote. Equally memorable was a familiar tree outside her father's home, completely charred. And those memories, and she said, and those memories don't go away. But he said he took her away. Now, where they lived in that city, they could easily get on the freeway to go to Palm Springs because you would just go east and then south, and LA would be over here. Anyway, yeah, right. They seem to remember it very differently. In those years later, Meghan mentioned that the protests brought out, quote, the good in her community, end quote. But she must have meant her immediate community, which was predominantly white. Her version changed again in 2017. 25 years after the event, Meghan would tell Vanity Fair that as, quote, the ash from the street fires sifted down on suburban lawns, she exclaimed. Oh my God, Mommy, it's snowing. End quote. Quote, no flour, Doria answered. It's not snow. Get in the house. Thomas Markle was incredulous when he read his daughter's version of those events. Meghan, he insists, never saw Doria after the riots erupted. Once he had collected her from school, he drove straight to Palm Springs. She didn't even go home. Talk about a lie. You can't even talk about the tree on your lawn or the ash and if she went from school to Palm Springs. Oh my. You know, I have to say, Meghan really shot herself in the foot. She could be like the people's princess right now if she were just nice. That's all she had to do. Not lie and be nice. And she would be adored. She'd have everything. Instead, she keeps telling these fabricated stories that never happened and thought, well, nobody's going to double check her, or she'll just say it did happen. But she burns enough bridges, then those people are like, well, I'm not going to keep her secret anymore. And then they start to sing like a bird. Here we go. A book of people that are singing like birds. Okay. So he took her straight to Palm Springs from school. According to Meghan's earlier versions, there was one racist experience which was particularly memorable. While driving together, Doria had an argument with a white driver. After he shouted racist abuse at her, Doria was visibly pained. Quote, I looked at my mom. Her eyes welled with hateful tears. We drove home in deafening silence, her chocolate knuckles pale from gripping the wheel so tightly. End quote. This is the only childhood incident of this kind that Meghan has spoken about publicly. She has also mentioned her experiences listening to Doria and her grandmother's stories about their family's experiences in the distant past. Pertinently, race was not deemed to be an issue in the Little Red School, nor at the private girls' Catholic Immaculate Heart School, which she entered just before her 12th birthday. Her, quote, battle with Procter & Gamble, Thomas discovered during the interview, was a major influence on winning a place at the school. According to Thomas Markle, Doria did not come to the interview and visited the school only once before Meghan's graduation ceremony. That's sad. She's kind of a dud, isn't she, that Doria? That's the one she chose to come to her wedding, not her dad. What's in this girl's head? Founded in 1906, the school's declared mission was to celebrate more than a century of nurturing and spiritual, intellectual, social, and moral development of students as they distinguish themselves as women of great heart and right conscience. The school prided itself on attracting very talented and highly motivated young women from every race and social background. Among past students were the actress Mary Tyler Moore and television personality Tyra Banks. 30% of the school was white. The majority of pupils were multinational, mixed race, or Black. Wow, it was only 30% white. Race didn't come up all that much, recalled Christine Knudsen, a white teacher. It's not a big deal simply because our school is so diverse. Since Doria only came to the school once, most assumed Meghan was Italian. Italian. The school's photographer, John who regularly visited, recalled that Meghan, in his experience, noticeably never associated with the African American children and, quote, was not considered mixed race by her peers, end quote. Oh boy, this is heavy. Her closest friends were white. My self-identification was wrapped up in being the smart one, she recalled before she was well known. Until recently, she had never suggested suffering any sense of exclusion. Yeah, boy. Race did become an issue when, age 12, she was asked to complete in her English class a box to identify her ethnicity. There I was, my curly hair, my freckled face, my pale skin, my mixed race, looking down at these boxes, not wanting to mess up, but not knowing what to do. You could only choose one, but that would be to choose one parent over the other, and one half of myself over the other. My teacher told me to check the box for Caucasian. And then there's a quote from the teacher. Because that's how you look, Meghan, she said. I put down my pen, not as an act of defiance, but rather a symptom of my confusion. I couldn't bring myself to do that, to picture the pit in her belly sadness my mother would feel if she were to find out. So I didn't tick a box. I left my identity blank. The question mark, an absolute incomplete, much like how I felt. I doubt that. When I went home that night, I told my dad what had happened. He said the words that have always stayed with me, quote, if that happens again, you draw your own box. By then, Thomas had established a pleasant routine. Daily, for nearly 10 years, he dropped Meghan off at school, and at the end of the afternoon would either collect her or send a limousine to bring her to the studio from the Pretty's house or another school friend while he finished up work. Dressed in her school uniform, a limousine, I'm sorry. He sent a limousine to bring. And she was talking about how she was a latchkey kid and had to warm up TV dinners. Implying that she came from nothing. Okay. Dressed in her school uniform, the curly-haired girl with a gap in her front teeth sat in the wings of the set of her Catholic school. Wait. Sat in the wings of the set in her Catholic school uniform. Yes, okay. While the actors occasionally participated in shooting sex scenes. Sex scene? Well, I mean, really PG. Quote, the sacred and the profaned, end quote. She would later say, it was a very perverse place to grow up. I mean, this was not porn. This was a television on regular stream network that was available to everyone. There were implications, but so there were in Three's Company. I don't know. It is stretching here. We're stretching to say they were shooting sex scenes with married children. Oh, maybe a little bit with General Hospital, but I don't think he was doing General Hospital anymore. I thought that was his first gig. And then he kind of moved over to Married with Children. Because Married with Children was on air for a very long time. I mean, General Hospital was too. But if he was the primary lighting director, I don't know if he did both. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I take it back it still was. It's daytime television. There's not a whole lot of. Maybe it's. Well, back then. Yeah, back then. I would have been watching some General Hospital probably around then, right around my time my kids were born. I had one year where I was watching General Hospital. Got back into it because I watched it in high school. Huh. Okay. I'm sorry. I digress. I just find it funny the way that it was a very perverse place to grow up. I mean, she had to have seen that when they came out of the covers, they were fully dressed. I don't know. But okay. All right. Moving on. I mean, it's not a church setting. I'll give her that. At weekends, there was a routine of Saturday ballet and acting classes, followed by, quote, our club sandwich and fruit smoothie, end quote, at an ice cream parlor or Hamburger Hamlet. Before going in, Thomas always brought Meghan's favorite comic called Archie. The hero, a red-haired teenager with freckles. He was friends with Veronica, a rich girl. For more than 2 years, between 10 and 12 years of age, Meghan was not only read each week the $1.50 new issue, but also an old rare issue that cost $20. After the meal, Thomas rented old dance movies to watch at home. Hi, seems like he grew into being a good dad once he got it together. Some weekends were spent, as his own childhood, fishing on the Kern River and at Big Bear Lake. The fish would be cooked for dinner. On long weekends, they went on road trips, including one to Elvis's Graceland home in Memphis, Tennessee. What, they took a road trip from California to Memphis, Tennessee? What? That's literally all the way across the country. Thomas's Toyota 4Runner was fitted with mattresses in the back for Meghan, along with a TV and a VCR recorder. No, basically, she had a hotel room on wheels. Okay, not really roughing it. We discovered, recalled Thomas, that she liked the same music I did when I was a kid. Bands like the Shirelles and all of the soul groups. She liked every one. Every time we would stop at a truck stop for something to eat, I bought the cassettes. Thomas also encouraged Meghan regularly to volunteer to serve food, especially turkey dinners, to the homeless and the hippie or Skid Row kitchen. Maria Polia, her school's theology teacher, remembered that Meghan was unusually compassionate. Thomas Markle could also take credit for the observation by the school's head teacher that Meghan was memorable as a confident, articulate, and proactive pupil. She had a voice. She would stand up for the underdogs, for what she believed in, and became a leader among her friends. Translation, she was bossy. No, that's good. I'm glad she was all that. Okay, kudos to somebody who stands up for an underdog. Okay. Compassion and spirituality were dominant characteristics in Meghan's early teenage years. In summer, she was sent by the school to the Agape International Spiritual Center. Early every day, guided by trans-denominational Christianity, students meditated and recited an Agape mantra. God is on my side. She also spent 4 days at Kairos, a student retreat, to discuss life and religion. As at school, she was popular and successful. At a school ceremony, age 14, she spoke about religion and charitable works. After sending a depressed fellow student a handwritten note describing him as, quote, strong and wonderful, blessed with a beautiful spirit, and proving how special you are, her note ended, I am here if you ever need me. And then she was voted Kairos leader. Her empathy was also rewarded by election as the school president. Crowned the homecoming queen, friends said openly that she was always destined to be remarkable. Years later, an admiring portrait of Meghan would be accompanied by a negative assessment. While she saw herself as an underdog, some classmates called her fake because she seemed perfect. The evidence suggests the opposite. She always fought, as Sonia Andraki noticed, quote, tooth and nail for things that she wanted in life, end quote. As Sonia's daughter Susie concluded, Meghan always got what she wanted. No one doubted her sincerity, but she was utterly indulged by her father. I spoiled her, repeated Thomas mournfully, and continued. So she became controlling at school, the master of ceremonies, and controlling at home too, end quote. In later years, Meghan appreciated her father's dedication. Quote, the blood, sweat, and tears this man, who came from so little in a small town in Pennsylvania, invested in my future so I could grow up to have so much, end quote. And she added, to my dad, my thoughtful, inspiring, hard-working daddy, happy Father's Day, end quote. She showed similar gratitude towards Doria. As an ex-employee of a travel agent, Doria managed to obtain cheap tickets from an airline to fly with Meghan to Mexico. Meghan's standout memory of that trip appears to have been a visit to the slums. She never mentioned a holiday with her parents in Hawaii, paid for by Thomas Markle. Although they were divorced, we got together sometimes, Thomas said. Years later, on her 33rd birthday in 2014, Meghan's memories of her childhood shifted. Quote, my teens were grappling with how to fit in and what that even meant. My high school had cliques, the black girls, the white girls, the Filipina and the Latina girls. Being biracial, I felt somewhere in between. So every day during lunch, I busied myself with meetings, French club, student body, whatever one could possibly do. Between noon and 1, I was there. Not so that I was more involved, but so that I wouldn't have to eat alone. Thomas Markle disputed Meghan's later version of her school years. That's a horrible school if everybody sectioned themselves off by races and only sat there and nobody could I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I mean, maybe a majority or something like that, but the fact that she had no place she could go eat, I don't think so. I don't believe it. In 1993, Thomas's financial security fell apart. He had loaned much of his savings to a friend for a TV business venture. The money, he complained, was stolen. He also faced a huge tax bill. On the advice of the U.S. Revenue Service, he declared himself bankrupt. Since Thomas was still earning a high salary, Meghan's life barely changed, although she would claim that she had to work at Humphrey Yogurt in Beverly Hills for $4 an hour. And she grew up on the $4.99 salad bar at Sizzler. Thomas is empathetic. Quote, she never worked when she was at school. I would not have allowed it. And she didn't need to. Not did she survive on Sizzler food. That sentence makes no sense. Nor did she survive on Sizzler food. She ate fresh farm food and she loved fish tacos, as she would later admit. Not only did Thomas Markle ensure that Meghan was well fed, but at weekends, he paid for extra tuition and out-of-town trips. Her ambition was never in doubt. Influenced by her frequent presence in the studios, she was set upon to become famous. Befriending the son of a Bolivian president at school, Meghan boasted for a few days, quote, "I'm going to be the Queen of Bolivia," end quote. You'll be no queen. That's not going to happen. Why does my nose always tickle? Socially, she gave the appearance of being reserved. Her parents, she said, were strict about boyfriends. Her first kiss at 13, she later told Larry King in a TV interview, was at a church summer camp with Joshua Silverstein, who went on to become a rapper. A lot of talk about her being involved in church. I mean, I think she went to a Catholic school too. Sure, don't ever see her mentioned, especially marrying into royalty, which is basically of the Catholic Church. I never remember her even saying God, nor less Jesus. I'm not saying she never did. I just never heard it. That is odd, isn't it? Very odd. She'll feed her kids invisible chicken nuggets. She'll feed her invisible kids invisible chicken nuggets. Okay. Goodness. Oh no, here we are. Meghan, he confirmed, I think this is the first boyfriend that became the rapper. Meghan, he confirmed, had taken the initiative. When allowed to meet her first boyfriend, Luis Segura, she was, quote, escorted by his brother, Danny Segura. The impression that she had few dates as a teenager was reinforced by her school friends, Susie and Nikki. With Susie, she went horse riding, skating, and bowling. Susie's family became particularly fond of Meghan. After the father was gunned down and paralyzed by a deranged Vietnam veteran. Wow. Regularly, Meghan went with Susie to sit by his hospital bed as the garage owner slowly recovered. Just surrounded by drama, this girl. It's crazy. At the same time, her friendship with Nikki Pretty became closer. In 1996, Meghan traveled with the Pretty family to Europe. Those are good friends. After visiting Paris, they headed to London. The two girls were photographed in front of Buckingham Palace. Ah, that's a picture I've seen float around. 1 year later, Princess Diana was killed in a car crash in Paris. Tearfully, the two girls watched the princes, William and Harry, walk behind the gun carriage. Is that what it's called? Okay. Towards Westminster Abbey, and saw the TV camera zoom in on the white flowers on Diana's coffin with the card marked Mummy, written by the 12-year-old Harry. The image of Diana's young sons was etched in America's memory, as was the anger about her treatment by the royal family, and especially by Charles. Oh, okay. So she had anger towards the royal family, Charles. That was it. Why do I feel like there was a third one? Okay. In the aftermath, I was trying to not use all these last names. I keep going back. I have to remember who's who, though. The friend that went to London with her. And Meghan rewatched a tape of, well, their family. and Meghan rewatched a tape of Diana's 1981 wedding. Susie gave Meghan, quote, Diana, her true story. I remember when that book came out. Everybody had it. Andrew Morton's blockbuster book that exposed the breakdown of Diana's marriage. Even in her 20s, Meghan kept her copy of Morton's expose on her bookshelf and mentioned her ambition to stay in London for 1 month. 20 years later, she would say, I didn't know much about him, referring to Harry, or the royal family. Nikki Pretty contradicted her old friend when she reflected. As she reflected, she was, quote, always fascinated by the royal family, end quote, and by Diana's humanitarian work for sufferers of HIV and landmines. On her own admission, Meghan admitted that her first Cinderella moment in fashion was wearing a gorgeous blouse and bejeweled shoes for the school's Miu Miu show. I don't know what that is. They mean so much to me, Meghan said, because I felt like a princess. Drama was her life's priority. Encouraged by Thomas Markle, she had become intensely involved in her school's theatrical productions. To help, Thomas volunteered to erect a professional lighting set on the school stage and build a light board. He also paid for her orthodontics, removing the gap between her front teeth. Obeying her father, Meghan always perfected her lines and unquestioningly obeyed the director's instructions. Her more important advice, after occasionally watching rehearsals, was to explain how best to hold her head, fixate her eyes, show her best profile, and most important, look sincere. Acting, he emphasized, depends on the appearance of authenticity. Drama teacher Gigi Peru noted her strong work ethic and her self-confident performances. School reports mentioned her starring role in a 3-day sellout of Oedipus Rex. I was thinking, how is it Oedipus Rex. And the great applause for her performance in a succession of musicals, Annie, Damn Yankees, and Into the Woods. One downside of Meghan's success was her intense jealousy, especially if someone else got a lead part. Meghan became particularly irritated after one girl at the school was employed by a Hollywood studio as an actress, and 2 other girls had been auditioned for the film Trace of Red. She wants to be a star on stage, Thomas Markle noticed, and a star in life. She demanded that her father pay a professional photographer to take her headshot. Dutifully, Thomas circulated the photo as an open call to producers across Hollywood studios. She received no replies. I want to be an actress, she kept saying. I want to be an actress. Daddy, come on, help me be an actress. Okay, I'm sorry, that was my little ad lib. As a treat, Thomas took her to the Emmy Awards ceremony when he was nominated for Best Lighting Director. After they walked down the red carpet, the 17-year-old said, Daddy, I want to be famous just like you one day. Thomas nodded. Like so many in the town, Meghan loved glamour and celebrity. She wanted her dream to become reality. He would do anything to help make her dream come true. In her late teens, Meghan's attitude towards Thomas started to change. In spring 1999, the musical The Pajama Game was the new school play. Meghan wanted the lead part, but also wanted to go for a week to the school's summer retreat. Gigi Peru, the drama teacher, insisted that Meghan had to choose one or the other. Meghan went to the retreat. Outraged that the teacher denied her a part in the play, she urged her father not to do the lighting. For real? That's snotty. He ignored her demand. Oh, good job, Thomas Markle. Oh, goodness. Furious, he recalled, she screamed he should obey her wishes. He refused. She moved into Doria's home for a few weeks. Oh, she can punish people too, huh? Mm. She was mad at me, admitted Thomas, and she refused to speak to me. Good gracious. That's a story. Driving around Los Angeles with Nikki Pretty during the argument, 18-year-old Meghan was being filmed by Pretty steering her car with a license plate that said "Classy Girl," a gift from an ex-boyfriend. Just 4 minutes from Thomas's home, Meghan told her friend, "We aren't going there because my dad and I aren't on best terms. I'd like to stop and see if I have any mail, but let's just say I doubt it." Meghan did not invite Thomas to her appearance at the local boys' school production of Damn Yankees. Despite her veto, he watched the performance and sent her flowers backstage. She ignored the gesture. Snot. My goodness. For the first time, her father realized that his daughter intended to write the rules. That was the only school play Doria watched, according to Thomas Markle, who, after directing the lighting, watched nearly all of Meghan's performances. This is a sad story, right? Parents that don't know how to parent, raising a kid that ended up just being an entitled brat. Ugh. But you can tell he loved her. That's what makes this so tragic. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. She studied the family. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. I laugh so hard at Camilla and Charles' love talks. That was so horrible. Do you remember how he described how much he wished that he were a tampon? So he could be inside. I mean, oh my gosh. Oh, thank you. Miu Miu is a designer brand. Very good. Thank you. The more you know. What was it? It was she wore bejeweled shoes for the school's Miu Miu show. Oh, okay. So they did like a fashion show of Miu Miu, I guess. All right. Yeah, she wasn't familiar with the royal family BS. Right. Thomas, it said in here, Thomas paid for her teeth to be fixed. Yeah, that is the creepiest thing that I heard, that she found out what Diana's perfume was and wore it when she first met Harry. Like, she knew. She had to know that, like, this is somebody who's really vulnerable and who I can control. And who obviously has mommy issues from losing his mom so early. And, you know, his dad was pretty cold, you know. So he wants mommy love and real love. And so she provided both of it, all wrapped in one. Unbelievable. Okay, I'm sorry. Where are we here? How are we doing on time? Oh, goodness. 2 hours. I said this was only going to be an hour. These are long chapters too. At least this one is. Maybe the early ones are longer because of all the background that they're covering. I hope. I mean, there's 48 of them. I didn't think it would take this long to read 2. I mean, we did do the preface too. I was going to say the preamble. Okay, I apologize. I am chatting in here a little bit as well. Okay. Wait. She wrote classy girl. She didn't invite him. Okay. He went to all of her performances. The Pretty video ended as Meghan headed for an audition in a video for the singer Shakira. If cast, the fee would be $600 for 2 days. After the audition, Pretty restarted filming Meghan again. Quote, "We all danced just like wild women," she told the camera. "I was really nervous I was going to spill out of my top because I was shaking so much." She was not cast. Meghan's graduation ceremony in June 1999 was proudly watched by Thomas Markle, Doria, and Thomas's mother. Giving the speech in the ring ceremony, the ritual of handing over responsibility to the new senior year, Meghan won awards for her academic and acting success. In the school's yearbook, her photo was accompanied by a quotation of Eleanor Roosevelt that she chose. It said, quote, "Women are like tea bags. They don't realize how strong they are until they're in hot water." End quote. She undoubtedly admired both her parents. Doria, who she later described as dreadlocked and nose-ringed, was a, quote, nurturing, free spirit. Okay. She goes on to say, "We can just have so much fun together, and yet I still find so much solace in her support." Okay. Quote, "Everything you do for me," end quote, she had written in one Valentine card to Thomas. Okay, you know what? This writer, if he does this through the whole book, I'm going to lose my head. He keeps starting a sentence, interjecting who's talking, and then continuing the sentence. Can you just write the sentence and then say who said it? Or say who's going to say it and then write the sentence? It's really kind of annoying. It breaks up the flow. There's no flow, man. Got no flow in this book. We need some flow. Please make a change. Okay. "Everything you do for me," she had written in one Valentine card to Thomas, "has turned me into who I am, and I am so grateful. All I want is to make you proud, and I promise, no matter what, I'll do it." End quote. Despite her gratitude for his generosity and for paying a total of £165,000 in school fees, which is more money in dollars, Meghan's departure for university inevitably created tension. Thomas Markle became melancholic as his daughter prepared to leave Los Angeles. The end of chapter 2. Okay, that was long. It doesn't seem like it was that long. It was 22 pages. 22 pages is half of the Sister Wives book. Okay, I'm going to have to get a bookmark of some sort. Boards from playing a game that our family likes. Dice game. It's from Germany. If I have any German viewers, if you're familiar with Nakmal, it's called Encore in America, and it's a fun game. It's a fun dice game. Okay. The more you know. All right. Well, that is interesting. We are definitely getting a lot of background, and I guess if you have a book that's this thick, you would expect to have a lot of details and a lot of citations. All right. We're going to go, but let me read you the titles so that you know kind of how this book is going to go. We read the preface, we read Thomas, and we read school. All right. Here are the next chapters coming up. Next week, we are going to do college and suits. All right. So we're getting into her professional life already. All right. Now I'll just read all the rest of the chapters to you. Manhunt, Influencer, The Irishman, Hillary, Watershed, Rwanda, Reitmans, Take Two. Oh, did we learn about the Reitmans? Who are the Reitmans? I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. Limbo, A Troubled Prince, The Catch, Exposed, Hiccups, Vanity Fair, Spotlight. All right, so the whole second half of this book is all like post-marriage, because Vanity Fair, I think she was already married, wasn't she? No. Okay, next chapter, Engagement, Aggravation, Tears. These are titles of whole chapters. Aggravation, then tears, then humiliation, and then wedding. It's crazy. Tremors, suicide. I probably should have not said that word. Hope I don't get this taken down. Exposure, baby shower, wellness, pitching, Vogue, attack, transit, farewell. I wonder if that's a Megxit. Paradise. Yeah, probably. And then they go to California. The Trial, The Jigsaw, Netflix, The Interview. Oh, is that the Oprah interview? Oh, this is more recent than I realized. Backlash, Grandstanding, Victory, Revenge, Fallout, and then acknowledgments at the end. So Fallout would be the last chapter. We're in 400 pages at that point. He's thorough. We're really going to understand Harry and Meghan by the end of this, I tell you. Maybe her teeth were as beige as her clothes. She had to get them taken care of. That's another funny thing. She made some sort of comment about how the queen always had these colors, so she always had to dim her light and just wear like beige and whites. Where no, Diana and Catherine are always wearing colors. The queen is always wearing colors, but they are too. And Meghan is wearing more beige and white now, away from the royal family, than she did back then. So another lie. Okay. Wendy's right. I can't fathom demanding my dad do anything. No, I would never demand either of my parents do anything, ever. I wouldn't demand my siblings even do anything. Nor have my kids ever demanded anything from me. Wah. The name of Harry's book. Wah, according to South Park. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Rachel is the Duchess of Dumba. Joni's not a fan. Okay. I would have demanded my dad do something once and only once, and I would have never attempted it again. Yeah, she has always been a monster. Harry never saw this coming. No, you're right, Nadine. It's so true. I mean, we only read the first 2 chapters. She sounds horrible. All right. Listen, my dad would have laughed me out of the house if I demanded anything of him. Isn't her mom a teacher? No, her mother is a yoga teacher, a very specific, sounds like spiritual combining of lots of different spirituality kind of yoga, like some sort of that. So she's a yoga teacher. No schooling required. This is an anti-parenting book. This is, very like what not to do. Let's not follow in Doria and Thomas's footsteps. Now, I do believe that Thomas stepped up by the time she was a teenager, but it appears it was a little too late. She had been molded at that point. Oh, you know Mew Mew from RuPaul's Drag Race. All right. Mew Mew doesn't equal, am I pronouncing it correctly? Is it Mew Mew? Doesn't equal talent. Ugh, very funny. Yeah, she does try to cosplay Diane all the time too. And there's a lot of Catherine as well, but more of Diana. The only thing I knew about these two was what was on South Park. South Park was pretty funny. I haven't seen the most recent one. I've seen clips from it, but I haven't seen the whole thing all the way through. And I don't know if it actually got on the show. I don't think they pulled it, but like, because they wanted to pull it and she threatened all kinds of legal stuff. They both did. Their team threatened all kinds of legal stuff against South Park. And I know that the South Park guys are like, everybody threatens us. No, freedom of speech. We live in America. We'll say what we want. That's funny. But I did see the "We want our privacy. We want our privacy" picketing with big signs. Give us our privacy. Their house had like all these neon lights and like big Hollywood signs with lights all around it. Please give us privacy. So good. I don't watch South Park at all. Like somebody they were talking about something once. I didn't even know what they were talking about, but apparently the name was the name of one of the characters on the show. So it's not something I ever saw, but I did watch that episode and found it very funny. Every time Henry says anything about Diana, it makes her look bad. Did you see that he just recently went to a minefield? You know, that classic, those classic photos of her in that beige with the protective vest in the minefield. Harry just went to the same minefields with a photographer and had the exact same picture. And you put them side by side, it's like he's wearing the same clothes his mother wore. It's either incredibly disturbing or that was like a uniform that you must wear when walking through minefields. Must be in white shirt, khaki pants, so-and-so boots, and then wear this vest. Like I get that probably the protective vest is the same for everybody, but like the hoe getup was scarily similar. And it's like, what are you trying to do? Stop. Oh, here we go. Yeah. The landmine walk in Angola. Was that just today? Maybe I saw it this morning. I may have seen it this morning when I was doing my breakfast. It's when I scroll through whatever comes up on my feed on my phone. It sounds like he works for the Sun. I think Tom Bauer has a legal background, so although his work is well researched, it also it's very so that's why he's so wordy. Well, it would make sense because nobody's ever. I don't think I should take it back. I don't know for certain. I want to say, I feel like in an interview with him, I heard him say that nobody's actually sued him, but every person he's written a book about has threatened suing in the process of doing it. But he's like, I cover all my bases. Okay. She is so jealous. You're right. Absolutely. Good night, Maureen. I wonder what time it is for Maureen. She probably responded. Is Maureen really over in England right now? Isn't Maureen, was she the person that was in the group Tuesday night who said, I'm originally from England, but I live in America now? Is that Maureen? It probably is. Because I'm sure that she joined if she's from England originally. There's supposed to be another one. I've seen clips of it. It includes the whole baby bump thing. Yeah, it's, the little clips I've seen, I'm like, okay, they didn't. Apparently, when they did the screening of it, everybody that was in the screening room was laughing and chuckling throughout the whole thing. And at the very end went, oh, you went there. And they got silent. So I'm like, how's it end? I don't know. So yes, I don't know when it's coming out, but that's a good point. It is sad. He's missing out on both of them. They are missing out on their extended family. They're missing out on all their family. They're in America. They're not connected with anyone in the royal family, and apparently this meeting that recently happened when Harry was over there, I'm not even sure if Harry was in the meeting. I think it was just his people and Prince Charles's people getting together to talk about how maybe they could try to come up with a reconciliation plan. I don't think Harry was there himself. I think it was just those people that were meeting. Their people met. Like, so he doesn't just ring them up and say, hey, Dad, what'd you have for dinner? Like, that's not happening. I mean, they're not even discussing big milestones that are happening. So I don't know. Hi, Karen. Good to see ya. And thank you. Okay. Oh, Carol, it's 2 a.m. where you are. Go to bed. Yes, the awful twerking thing made it into South Park. I saw a clip of that somewhere on YouTube. Yeah, she was not pregnant in that bit. There's no way. No way. Anyone who's been pregnant knows your stomach cannot move up like that. Your whole body will have to go like this. No way. All right. Yeah, she did not. It's, you know what's so funny? This is what's going to be amazing about this, because as I'm like seeing different things, what's fascinating about it all is how many times in different interviews in that she talks about during her pregnancy, how she gained an incredible amount of weight. Because she was talking about how, like, oh, she could fall down because she was all belly, 65 pounds. That's what it is. She said she gained 65 pounds with both pregnancies and lost it. 65 pounds. Listen, I think I gained 45 pounds and I looked like a butterball turkey. Like, my ankles were this big around my feet. I had to get just slide in shoes. None of my shoes would fit. The water retention was out of control, mostly with the first one. Second and third weren't as bad, but I gained as much weight with all of them, even when I didn't have the water retention, because then that was just me eating. So yeah. The fact that she had the tiniest, and she was saying, oh, my ankles were so big. And you can see pictures of her like 9 months pregnant. I'm like, no, sorry. No, they're not. You don't understand. See, that's the thing she couldn't fake. She couldn't fake that. She couldn't fake the size of her legs. I did notice, though, with Archie, that I feel like she put on a little bit of weight. A little bit. I felt like just a little bit in her face and a little bit in her body when she went for that picture in I was going to say Wimbledon Castle. But the castle, which is not where you ever do the picture. It was like 4 days after the baby was born. There was no hospital picture on the hospital steps, which is tradition. They waited 4 days, and then Winchester? Why am I forgetting the name of the castle? Anyway, they did it in this very vacant hall all by themselves. And apparently they only did it with one interviewer and photographer. There was a cameraman and an interview person. And that's all they allowed. They didn't have like all the cameras shooting and everything. And then they could share. Isn't that crazy? Like, it all just fits the narrative. I mean, I haven't looked on the channel at the comments since the day I posted it. So I don't know if there's a lot of backlash, but people have told me, you're going to talk negatively about Meghan Markle, you're going to get a lot of backlash. I'm like, it'll help the algorithm. Go to it. Oh, listen, I'm just telling you what I see, my opinion of it. I do that with sister wives all the time, and I don't get backlash. I might get people who disagree with me, and people can disagree with me, but if it's like full on backlash, like, why? Go watch Sister Wives. Do you see what I say about those people? Windsor, thank you. I think it was Windsor Castle. Why do I feel like it was a bigger name than that? No, I think it began with a W, so it has to be Windsor. Windsor Castle. Okay. Yes, she wore stiletto heels through that entire pregnancy. No, you don't do that. One, you don't want to like roll an ankle and fall down because you don't want to hurt the baby. And two, your balance is off, your center of gravity's off. Like everything was just no. Yeah, negative tension, still a tension. And the birth certificates, I meant to do a video on that one too. Still finishing up the one on the 2 hypocrisies. But hopefully that'll come out tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know. I got a lot to do tomorrow, and I have something to do tomorrow evening too. Friday for sure. It's coming out. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see how time goes. Yeah, after Archie. Yeah. I mean, barely. Yeah, but you could see afterwards that she wasn't as gaunt as she normally is. She was like normal looking. She was like me before I got pregnant with my 3 kids. All right. I have not watched my Big Fat Fabulous Life, but I probably would enjoy it. I feel like I'm betraying my Ruby. I used to watch Ruby all the time. I really want to know what's happened to her. I wish they'd do a follow-up show with Ruby. All right. Okay, that's it for tonight. We're done. I'll see you next week, most likely. I will post it as soon as I know for a fact that I can be free on Wednesday night, but that is my plan. And we will do 2 chapters each week. All right. And then when I post them online, I'll separate them. So I'll take this down at some point. How am I going to do that? Because I didn't record it. Can I do that? Oh, it's getting recorded on StreamYard. Yeah. So I can take it down off of being online. In fact, I might just do it right after this. I'll take it down and then I'll upload this to my iMovie and then separate them and then put them both back up again. There you go. I figured it out. Thanks. All right. Good night, everybody. I don't have an intro and an outro yet, but I'll have to get to that too. I'll come up with something to put as an intro and outro, but I just wanted to get started today. Good night, everybody. See you next week. See some of you Sunday night. See some of you next Tuesday. Love y'all. Mwah.